Hi, my name is Scott. I'm the CEO of GitButler. Today we're going to be talking about amending, so fixing up commits that you've done before with new work. So a lot of times this happens when you get some review on a series of commits and somebody says, hey, can you fix this test or something like that? And it's several commits back, right? And so what we want to do is not necessarily add a new commit on top that just has a one-line change or something like that, but we want to actually modify the commit that was a couple of different commits back with some file changes. So let's see how to do that in GitButler, and then we'll see how to do it in vanilla Git. Let's say that this is kind of what we have, right? We have this likes controller test that we have this fix this up comment, so it's fairly easy to see. And we have this series of 3 commits on this branch. And what we want to do is we want to amend this, right? So this is what it used to look like, and then we want to add in these new changes here and squash them together. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. We can do a new commit and squash the commits together. The easiest thing to do is to simply drag and drop this. So in GitButler, you can just sort of drop it. I can amend this into any of these commits here. I want to do it to this one, so you can see that. We could have also let's just undo that real fast. So we could have also dropped it, for example, here, right? In which case we're just sort of doing this sort of change on top of this base one. But that doesn't really make any sense. So let's go ahead and drag that back over here. Okay, so you can see it's very easy to kind of drag and drop these changes around within GitButler. So now let's go ahead and see how to do that same type of thing of sort of making a change in a commit that's farther back in vanilla Git. So I'm gonna undo this, get back to where we were, and we'll go to the command line on Git and we'll see how to do that. So let's see what our status is. We have this file change that we've done, right? Let's see, that has the same thing here. I've kind of rewound this thing. So now let's look at what our graph looks like. So here's what our branch looks like. We have the same sort of three commits here. So now what we want to do is take that change that we have and we want to amend it into this one. So the way you do this in Git is you do what's called a fix-up commit. So you do a commit that you would kind of normally do, except you mark it in a particular way. So instead of giving it a commit message, you say --fixup, and then you tell it the SHA of the commit that you want to target for it to fix up. Let's do a couple of different fix-up commits and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm going to change this README file so that we have 2 different changes here, right? We have the change to the README file, we have the change to this likes controller test. In fact, let's say I've just made these 2 modifications. Now I want to, in this case, let's go back. I have these 3 commits on this branch, right? So I want to take this README change and put it into the README, and I want to take this likes controller test and put it into the likes controller commit. So I'm going to do 2 different fix-up commits. So the way that you do this is you say, I'm going to stage whatever I want. I'm going to commit --fixup, the changes here, to, in this case, this SHA. Okay, and then if I look, I just have this, so let's add this and commit fixup this SHA. Now, if I look at my branch, you can see I have 2 new commits. There's sort of these interesting temporary commits. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to take these 2 commits and I want to squash them down to where they go. So now, the way that you do that, the easiest way, what you can do is you can do rebase dash, this is kind of the old way of doing it. You can do rebase dash I, origin main. You essentially squash them down. So the order is going to be from top to bottom. So it'll pick this, and then you want to squash this one into the one above it, and you want to squash this one into the one above it. And then what it's going to do is when it gets to the ones that it's squashing, it says, hey, these are the commit messages for both of these. So fix it up. The fix up one you can see is already commented out, so it's just going to use the first message. Same for the second one. And then if we look at our graph again, what we've essentially done is squash the 2 changes into those things. Now I want to show you a slightly easier way of doing it rather than manually moving that stuff around. So if we go back here, and now we look at our graph again, we just kind of rewound time on this a bit. Let's try a slightly easier way. If we did the fix-up commits, then there's a way for Git to automatically do this sort of ordering for you. So if you say rebase -i -autosquash, then when it opens up the thing, it will have already moved these fixup commits into the proper place for you, right? And so that's what autosquash does, is it looks for those fixup commits and it automatically moves them where they're supposed to go. And now if you do that and you run that, you can see that it's automatically squashed them. So that's kind of the way to do that in Git, is to create fixup commits and then auto squash them together. So you can see that it's a little bit easier to do this obviously in GitButler, where you can just sort of drag the files into what you wanted to be able to do, or you could also create other commits and squash them together. In Git, the easiest way to do it is to do a temporary commit and then squash those together with Rebase. Hopefully you learned something today about fixing up, auto squashing, amending commits, a couple commits down, and the beauty of GitButler with drag and drop. So enjoy.